Okay, so today will have been 2 weeks. 2 weeks from the day when Brad and I went into the birthing process in Bemidji, Minnesota, for our 10th child. Our 10th child was induced because Paula was 2 weeks late. During labor, Paula had unusual pain. She doesn't use an epidural, so she always had pain, but this was unusual pain in the front of her abdomen where it felt like the baby was pressing on the front instead of the lower part, which quickly changed in the last minutes of childbirth. And for those of you who haven't read the Caring Bridge post, my wife then, after giving birth at 3:42 in the afternoon, 2 weeks ago today, lost a pint of blood, which is about a quarter of what you have in your body. So the doctors, praise God, the doctors rushed her down to the operating room, where she continued to lose blood and was in surgery for hours. For me, I lost my wife. When the first report came back and they said they couldn't find the source of bleeding, when they said that her heart should have flatlined, but it didn't flatline, when they said they didn't know the damage that much blood loss would cause to the organs, to me that meant she could wake up at some point if she survived the surgery, but might be brain dead, might have heart damage, and most also for sure we knew we would never have kids again, which for my wife and I, you guys might think that's crazy when we have 10 kids, but we dreamed of having more. That's how the night began. And later in the night, I watched them give Paula, my bride, CPR. And so I watched in my eyes, in my experience, my wife die twice and come back again. This is probably the worst thing I've ever been through in life, and I'm already 2 weeks away from it, getting into the normal, if you can call it normal, routine of life as I'm caring for our 10 children. I'm playing the part of mom with the help of my in-laws. Thanks for my in-laws, but I'm forgetting, I'm losing the pain and the power of what just happened. And so I want to record this last update of what I think God has done, what good has come out of the suffering we've been through. In our last update, I said the question people ask a lot of times is, how can there be a loving God? How can there be a loving God if there's such suffering, such evil in the world? And for me, it just proves there has to be a loving God, because there is suffering, because there is evil. There has to be good. We can't be just random acts of matter and mass coming together over millions of years. Why? Because there's suffering, because there's evil. So there must be good. And so I look at this experience and I say, this proves for me God is real. So anyway, what good can come out of it? That's the point of this recording. I want to share with you when I heard the news that Paula needed CPR. Her brother Bill and I were in with the baby, getting ready to leave because we thought she was going to be flown down to Minneapolis. And we heard over the loudspeaker in the hospital, code blue, ICU 6. And I'll never be in a hospital again where I'll hear code blue and not tear up, I think. ICU 6 was my wife's room. So the nurse we were with led Paula's brother and I to ICU room number 6, and that's where we saw my wife receiving CPR. And I remember the feeling. This is some of the good that comes out of this, by the way. I remember the feeling of helplessness. I could do nothing. The doctors were doing everything they could do, but really in the end, they could do nothing to bring her back to life. her life was in the hands of God. Doctors can't produce life. And in the end, they can do everything they can do physically, but they can't make someone stay alive. And so I fell to my knees in tears, right there in ICU, crying harder than I've probably ever cried before. Knowing that I can trust in God, but knowing that it's up to Him to bring her back. And so that's what I prayed. I said, God, bring her back. Bring her back to me. I look back and I remember now Job. If you don't know, there's a good guy named Job who got a lot of things he didn't deserve. He lost his kids. He lost his house. He lost everything but his wife. And Job said, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And that was me. That was me on the floor in ICU. God be praised to whatever end. Okay, so what good comes of that? Trust. That's what it is for me. Trust. I knew I could trust God. I knew that whatever end, there is a God who is good, and the suffering in this world just proves that. And that I could trust Him no matter what end would come of that. So this experience for me grew my trust in God, and I pray that would have been the same if I lost my wife too. It grew my trust in God, that there is a God out there as we experience our suffering that we can place our trust in. And so suffering produced in me a greater trust in God. What else good can come of suffering? I just want to have 2 other points I don't really want to talk as long about because I don't like long updates. God, through this experience, has, in ways that Paula and I don't understand yet, just increased our compassion for others who have gone through this, gone through any sort of traumatic experience. I've talked to people who have lost their kids since this happened to us, people who have almost lost their spouses, and my wife and I now weep with them. We understand the pain. And those of you who say, I can't imagine what you've been through to my wife and I, you can't, and I'm glad you can't. But when you can, then you'll understand what it really means to have compassion for people who go through these kind of things. And so we have compassion. We feel the pain of what others have gone through. And then just this last week, something else came up for me that I've gained out of this suffering, some good that I've gained. I've been woken up to the reality that our lives are temporary. That each one of us has a time clock. I like to think about it this way. We have a time clock above our head, and it's ticking down, and nobody knows the time that it's going to run out. And so we like to think of our lives as momentarily, our lives in this world, this physical world. But when that time clock ticks down, the reality that this physical life is over is gone. And all of a sudden we realize there is something more, and it's eternity. That eternal view has come into my life now. And I look at you, I look at my friends, I look at my family, and I drive down the street and I weep over the houses and houses and houses of people that have been deceived by lies about God, that have been convinced of false proofs about God, that need to hear the truth that eternity is real, and that God is real, and that God has given us hope for eternity in His Son coming into the world and His Son dying like my wife died. And then He came back 3 days later, which is Easter, which is why we celebrate Easter. This reality, this eternal reality that people need to hear, it's been reborn in me. I need to tell people. I need to give people hope. And as a pastor, I have that awesome responsibility and that awesome privilege. And so if I start knocking on your door and asking if you're ready to die. I'm not saying it because I hate you. I'm saying it because I love you. Because I can't imagine one soul not having the opportunity to hear good news, that there's no reason to fear death, that God has given us. He's paved the way for us through death and eternity. So anyway, when people say that, what good can come of this? When people say that suffering proves God isn't real, I think they're totally blind, foolish, really. They obviously haven't experienced suffering and had the opportunity to grow closer to God in it. So if you're watching this and you don't know the Bible and you don't know Jesus, I've been where you are. But let me tell you, God loves you, and He will unrelentingly chase you down in life. He wants you to know hope. He wants you to know the reality of eternity. And He will give you opportunities to glimpse that. And I beg of you, stop running from Him. Stop turning from Him. Believe, trust in a living God who loves you, who cares for you, and who walks with you through your sufferings. And trust in His Son, who came into the world. Don't doubt that God can do such a thing. He is God. He can send His Son in the world if He chooses to, and He did. And His Son died for you, and He died for me. So that when we go through horrible suffering like this, we can just trust in Him and not be afraid. Thanks for listening to my thoughts. It's 2 a.m. here. I woke up with the baby. I'm on baby duty still. This is the 10th baby and our last final baby. And all 9 babies my wife has nursed, and so she's been the one to wake up every night. And so I guess now I'm getting paid back for all those times. Thanks for watching. Pray about this. Think about this. And seek the Lord. Seek Him, and He will be found. And talk to a believer in your life who knows God's Word. And be encouraged. There's a God who loves you, who died for you, who gives you hope even in your sufferings. Thanks for watching.